Welcome to Product League's Product Management Debate event. AI, the end of product managers or their secret weapon. Our esteemed speakers today are Rene Abou, joining us from Germany. Rene is the principal at Involved and Product League mentor. He will be arguing that AI poses a threat to product management. Martin Lasarga from California is our Senior Director of Product at Mendhive and also a Product League mentor. Martin will be making the case for AI as a valuable tool for product managers. We'll begin with opening statements for both speakers, setting the stage for our debate.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, good morning. So my name is Martin Lasarga, Senior Director of Product, and I'm here to discuss, and debate with Rene about, the use of AI in everyday's, product managers' life, and how AI in this case is going to be supporting, PM's life to make their day-to-day easier.
Yeah, so Martin, nice to have this nice little debate with you. So I'm Rene, I'm a product consultant, and I see some positive stuff there in the AI world, but I also consider some of the AI stuff quite as a threat. So we have to be really careful how we use AI in the future.
Our first round tackles the question, can AI truly understand customer needs?
Specifically, I want to talk about, how we can enhance the user experience by providing insights. So basically what I want to present or I want to talk about today is how we can deliver a personalized experience that will, delight customers. And in our specific, company, we're really focused in enhancing experience for sales users, and we're very driven about, their insights and, how we can do to actually, sell more media with them. We have this smart proposal tool where we thought we were having like an insightful and, intelligent, smart process, but the application of AI during that process has helped us enormously to provide during the funnel while the user is, discussing with an advertiser in this case, and having those insights of being able to tweak the budget has helped us, at least in this case, to increase even like a 7%, like the average order on media spend so far. So this would be like one of my first, arguments where the application of AI as a product manager and to deliver, big outcomes, I would say, it's very important.
All right. Yeah, I can see some of your points there when you crunch data potentially. But when it comes to user experience, I think you have both sides. You have quantitative data and qualitative data, right? So if you crunch some quantitative data, potentially the AI will help to process the amount of data and get the conclusion out of it. But on the one side, and then this is one of my response to your use case, the AI will potentially never get the mood from a customer or the sentiment or whatever when you talk to the people, right? So as a product manager, you want to actually discuss your product and the benefits, the downsides directly in the qualitative part. And the second is, and this is for me one of, I think, the biggest threat that you can have with AI, is that people blindfolded rely on data they get without challenging them, without see where the data comes from, and all these kind of things. So I see the big threat that people will switch off their brains and they will start switching off their common sense, and they will rely on, without questioning, without challenging what the AI will bring, right? So as I think you can use them really to help you for sure, but as long as you keep your brain switched on and really see, okay, how can that benefit me? Do I need to validate the data I get with real life discussions or whatever?
Makes a lot of sense. You got definitely a point there. Like for example, for this example, let's dive into it, and let's dive into specifically my industry where I'm working. Like in MarTech, Well, I believe like one of our biggest issues maybe today is, how do we increase, like conversions overall? And I think in the marketing industry, if you talk to, like different agencies, different marketers, they all have like different opinions about what's going to convert the best, right? So in this case, I think it applies in a different way because we are providing tools and we are providing insights based on data that we want them to kind of like in this case follow, like more blindly, let's say, because we are confirming through information, right, that in this case we are going to increase, conversion rates. So even though I agree with you in different other applications, there are scenarios where just following your gut might not be the best way to go versus having a more insightful, thoughtful decision making in the process.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. I mean, we know that the machines make mistakes, right? When they process data, we heard even about machines they put in on purpose some wrong data just to justify what they are doing. So, and as I said, so also very important in your case is how to train the machine, maybe, and is it your own environment or is it a public environment where something else is incorporated? So. Also, this is something in your case I can understand. So the question is always, what is the purpose? What is the use case? And does it help me or not? Of course, also machines can be manipulated, right? Also something we have to we have to consider somehow. I mean, so the question is, does it fulfill the need that you actually have? But still, I think the thread remain that a lot of people may potentially switch off their brains and follow just what they get. So it's independent actually from a use case. Yeah? You will find always 1,000 reasons why it's good to use the machine, especially if you have tasks that are repetitive or time consuming where these things could help you, as long as you have that instance that double check what the outcome is and how good it is and how usable is it.
What do you think? Which perspective resonates more with you? Drop your thoughts in the chat and tell us whether Martin or Rene made a more compelling point about AI's impact on understanding customers' needs. Round 2 focuses on speed versus creative uniqueness in product development.
You are also on LinkedIn, right? And I'm using LinkedIn a lot. And what I see is that AI streamlines a lot of things there. I believe I can determine whether a text has gone through an AI to polish or whatever. Is the same with presentations you see. And some thread I see is that if I rely on something like the AI to help me, I'm not, nurturing these capabilities like creativity, like how to build presentations, how to tell a storyline. And a thread I see, although I see the potential to get work there, but this kind of uniqueness and creativity made by human impact and human thoughts and human creativity, that this how somehow you can already see, is my opinion, on LinkedIn and other platforms. And this is something I think that there is an imminent risk in there.
Yeah, no, I agree in that one. Like I see a lot of, like posts and, like comments from people where you can realize, like that it's not made by a human, like it doesn't have the sentiment. It doesn't tell a story as maybe someone would tell. But yeah, I'm here to argument, like in favor of some of that stuff. Like, for example, talking about copyright in this case, right, that you brought it up. So not being like a native, like English speaker, like in my case. So the application of AI for kind of reviewing, kind of like the storyline they want to tell, like the tone, it actually has been very useful for me. So for me, it's not, like about using it blindly, but, like having a, clever use case where it actually provides value in this case for me. Yeah, I'm not in favor of, free for all on, using the tools and, bad use cases, copy pasting, suggestions as they come because of that bias. But for me, it's more about, using it more like in an intelligent way where, again, it's going to solve a problem for me in this case, like copyright. On the other hand, right, like you mentioned something about the creativity overall. Um, Even though we see a lot of, like tools, that today can generate creatives, let's say audio, video, like copy, like even audio. I still believe, I firmly believe that we still need the human being behind there, validating, being able to, prompt the story that we really want to tell, and so on. Otherwise, again, like I don't believe that any generation of like AI content that we're going to be providing is going to be, like useful, or is going to move humans, to empathize with it and so on. So there's some, like on favor on your point, but on the other side, I believe, like, again, it's all about how we use it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me take an example. I would like to hear your opinion about. So when there is an application process, right? And it's, this kind of making a cover letter, whatever, tailor made, or get the information out. So if you would realize that somebody used AI to put something there, tailor made to the application or to the job that you offered, how would you react? So was this something where you say, okay, I like that this person had used the AI, or potentially, my gut feeling would tell me that this person didn't want to invest much time and really do some personal research and get a personal touch to it. So what would you think about that when it comes to using that AI for this matter?
For me, it's more about, like the application again. Like if you're not gonna think through it, if you're not gonna be mindful as you're gonna write it by yourself, like it's a very poor use of it, and it's very evident, right? And it actually, bothers me too, like because you can notice, like there's some context inside on it, and you're talking about cover letters and so on. Like I've seen it in, in product briefs. Sometimes, part of like team members, like overdo it and so on. So yeah, that's a bad use of it. Like so for me, it's about being clever again, and how you're going to leverage it as a tool, and for.
This debate is your conversation. Our speakers Martin and Rene will be live during the premiere to answer your questions. Have a burning question about AI in product management? Submit it in the chat. They will be here to respond in real time. Our final round addresses the future of junior product managers.
Being able to solution. So there's a lot of, like stakeholder management there. We know that we need to do, to validate with different users. But the problem basically that I see, is that discovery process usually takes us, like months in some cases. And I feel like there's a huge efficiency game there where we could actually leverage a lot of the use of toolings, for AI. So coming back and structuring a little bit the process in that discovery phase, you can gather a lot of information, from different tools in the market. I agreed with you, and then maybe you bring it as a point, right? Like you never know if that information you're going to get is, like really valid, because it's biased some way, somehow. This is information that's available and we're consuming. But I believe it's a starting point anyways. And for me, it's more about, digesting those results, validating, fact checking, and so on to use it in a more streamlined and fast way. How you generate copy for those product briefs, how you come up with, like ideal metrics to measure, like success. So yeah, how do you feel about specifically, applications like this one where there's a lot of,
Yeah.
for it?
Yeah, again, some mixed feelings, right? Because I see your point that especially uh, if if you want to validate some points or whatever, so it's a different thing if you use Google for search or really AI where there's some LLMs behind it who has some additional information and can create something out of it. I see that. So what the one big risk that I see that is connected to this whole thing is that a lot of people will lose their skills practically really the learning from scratch, like building something like a carpenter or whatever. Yeah, you use that kind of feeling when you build something with your own hands. If I transfer this to the product management, that you really learn how to do a proper discovery, what you need to trust your methodology knowledge you have if you transfer that to the machine. And there is an interesting point that I came across talking to some of my peers, and that is the point um, how juniors in the future would be somehow integrated in this process. Yeah? Maybe sound a little bit nauseous. It is not meant like this, right? But the juniors normally do work where they can learn, where they can grow, where they can get experience, and these kind of things, right? And if you as an experienced product manager just open Chat AI or whoever LLM you're using, then you can get all these things that a junior normally is researching and learning on it and blah 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 very easy from the machine if you know how to prompt and put the right models in there, right? So this was a really interesting point we came up that if it really helps that the AI can take a lot of things away, and you need the experienced people to do the challenge, right? Because a junior, if it comes in, doesn't have the experience potentially to challenge. So it's going to be really interesting how the job market, how the job description, how what the juniors will come in when they, or what will do when they come in a company, what they really can do. Yeah. So potentially they need new and different skills coming from university to be part of that product management unit. So I think it can help, yeah, to again crunch some big data and do, but I'm not so sure if this will not lead at the end to the way that you need a lot less juniors. You're losing this kind of the skills that you need to do a discovery potentially, right? How to conduct the interview, for example. Now, if you let the machine do.
Yeah, I'll disagree a little bit on that one, but like here, I want to kind of like frame, my think process behind that one. I still believe you're always going to have, like different entry level roles. I think the only thing that's going to change is like us as senior members, maybe in different organizations. How do we prepare them? Like to onboard. What tools are we providing? Like to them to have like a like a more efficient kind of like work. For me, it's all about, again, solving problems, as a product person. In this case, it's like maybe, by not applying these tools, ramping up a product manager in an organization could take you, more time, more cost, right? So if we prepare ahead of time, there's a lot of, GPTs that are kind of like personalized to more people and so on, and help all on a specifically, like ramping up of employees that will like help in some way somehow. So for me, like that's kind of like one of the arguments or how I'm thinking around this. But at the same time, like the only thing that is constant, like over change and then over time, sorry, around job descriptions and how we hire and so far is change. That's the only concept that we always have. We need to always kind of like be reinventing ourselves, preparing for the future, like new technologies. And it has been, like our story, right? Like over the years. I think that the thing that we're seeing now is that like it's accelerating like at like a very scary, let's say, pace, right? For a lot of people. But yeah, like again, like I think it's coming back to my original argument, and like why at the same time I'm advocating for the good uses like of AI is that we need to put some structure behind it. And yeah.
Yeah. So I see your point. But so again, playing devil's advocate. So that would mean a junior more, just outcome and output. Yes. Take the two perspectives. Actually, by having all that capabilities of AI at hand or whatever, I would expect the junior to be onboarded much faster, to learn much faster, to be able to take tasks that a normal junior in the current state wouldn't take. So, which means that more output in the same amount of time or more outcomes in the same amount of time would then be a result. So giving the current, let's say, situation that we are facing with all the juniors, do you really think this is something that is realistic? Because I sensing a lot of young people coming in having different focuses in work. They're having more in the work-life balance. They don't want to work that much anymore. So either this is either very beneficial for them because they can, use the whole tool set to exactly achieve that. Or, but what about then the really okay, you have to do more in this amount of time to really take care of your job. I think that is an interesting outlook that we are facing.
Yeah, totally. Um, so again, I don't believe, if I were the manager about to hire in this case, maybe my definition of like a junior and a job description like 3 years ago is not the same that I will have today. So that will be my, my starting point. Maybe defining how success looks like for those people. And again, like focusing which is the problem I'm trying to solve. We don't want to make them go through a painful experience of like months of onboarding, of learning, when there's a lot of tools that will kind of like streamline and facilitate that process. So for me, again, it's more about choosing the battles, the effort where we can to make their experience like even better at the same time.
Who is winning the debate in your eyes? We want to hear your perspective. Which arguments have been most convincing so far? Share your thoughts and help shape the conversation. To conclude, our speakers will address two critical questions. What are the biggest downsides of using AI in product management, and what are the risks of missing the AI train?
So the biggest downside I see of using AI again is like using it blindly. As you brought up today during our discussion, I think that's a very big mistake that a lot of people fall into. Right? Like it's a totally biased technology based on the information that it has available and how it has been trained and so far. So I think we need to be very thoughtful well, we're going to explode it.
So what do you think about the risk of that the AI takes over too many things and humanity and the spirit and everything? I mean, this is some very, high level, more ethical discussion. But what do you think about that case? So do you see a risk that you put so much on the machine, on work and topics and whatever, that there is the risk that humanity is going away?
I don't believe that, to be honest. Like I believe like this is another revolution as we have, like in the past and in our history, where like the application of technology is always going to move on a faster rate than maybe several other industries or like the different kind of like jobs that we were used to do, where it was a lot of repetitive manual labor, not a lot of like things. So in those cases, I believe they're going to be like affected, definitely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I think it's more like a like personally how I try to think, that is always like, hey, change is good. It's constant. You always need to prepare for it. You always need to be iterating behind it. So I think no, like we're going to succeed, and at the same time we're going to find like ethical ways to use and move it forward.
I mean, you put a very interesting point in the ring. So the need of change. Humans are not good in change. So if I would predict that, I don't know, in the whole business world, 30% of all jobs potentially are at risk because I don't know, content management. You need to create content, whatever. The AI can do that. Accounting, whatever, all these calculations for a P&L and whatever, everything can be done actually by the machine. So whenever it's repetitive, not really creative, all these kind of things, potentially there is this risk that the machine can do it better, faster, more efficient. So if we predict this already, wouldn't we then would need to really prepare the people and the world around us for that big change? Because now guess 30% of all jobs are gone within a year. The social systems in the country for unemployment, whatever, would not be able ever to really manage this kind of thing. So wouldn't we have then the responsibility to really prepare the people and the jobs those people are in now for this big change, and try to see what we else do with what the people can then do and change themselves?
Yeah, no, 100%. Again, like the only thing constant is change, right, over life. So it's all about preparing people for, like jobs for the future. Like,
Yeah.
I like to bring up like some analogies, like into the discussion that, where I feel like the same concept is applied without like AI. Like, for example, I'm from Uruguay, South America, right? When you go, and pour gas in your car, you can't do it yourself. There's an employee that's going to pour, gas in your car, is going to take care of you. And when I came here to the US, you do it by yourself, for example, right?
Yeah.
When you go through, like a toll in the highway, right? You used to, have an interaction with a person where you paid him. And now like it's kind of like automated. And we're not talking about AI in any of those cases, right? I think it's all like normal evolution. And what we are experiencing like at this point is like a very fast one in our industry that scares us a lot, right? It scares a lot of people. But again, like I feel like we went through like in our history through several of these moments, maybe um, in different kind of like landscapes. But yeah, it's normal, and we all prepare and we will prevail.
I believe that as usual, there are actually people or companies who will lose the battle at the end. So I'm convinced, although I see some of the big risks, that you cannot not do it, right? So the big question is, for what do you utilize the AI, especially in product management, right? So, and it's not only product management; it's practically any other division in your company, right? So the thing is, especially when it comes to costs, when it comes to revenues, when it comes to costs for infrastructure, whatever is there out in the company, if you not using this, you will lose some competitive advantages, is my opinion, right? So if you really wisely use AI in the use cases where it really helps, and really can benefit your business processes, your cost structure, your amount of people that you actually need to create the same outcome still, right? This is the moment I think where you miss it, it will be really costly. Yeah, there are a lot of actually potential like branches, maybe psychology or whatever, but the people factor is still dominant. But even there, if I look at the legal industry, for example, right, the machine already can solve potential cases better than a human in a fraction amount of time. But still, you have to have the interaction between humans to explain it, to make sure that everybody somehow feels fine with it. But the actually research work, all the combination of different facts and whatever, this is where it helps, right? And it's the same in product management, right? You still have to make the decision potentially what to build, right? And then the prioritization process. And you have to still interact with humans who are coding, who are releasing, who are using the product. But for me, the release note case was one of the most painful all the time. How do I inform my stakeholders and the world around me of what we released? And I think this is one great use case for AI to really do it, as long as you put the data in your environment and not to the public. Little side note of data privacy, but I believe this is something where you can really utilize the stuff and get really high benefits out of it, but still under the consideration of what I said before.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. And I want to kind of like highlight, with some examples in my industry where I think it's a thing of timing too. Like for example, in the marketing industry, we work a lot around creatives, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good example about that, hybrid approach where you're gonna have some efficiency of like AI generated creatives versus having your creative team working and stuff.
Mm.
So a lot of our competitors, for example, are going through and highlighting um, on the boom of like video creative, like image creative.
Yeah.
But I believe like we're not in a space where I still feel comfortable of using that like in a professional manner. Still believe like we need, like human beings, in a hybrid approach there, like with the storytelling, with working on reaching to our audience. So maybe it's very different, for example, for copyright and audio, the generation.
Uh-huh.
I feel like in those cases specifically, the computer performs better, than a human being in those
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Now
Yeah.
for me, running up like with this subject, by basically, and passing it back to you, like it's more about timing, and it's more about
Yeah.
finding again the right use case.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always the first mover, late follow discussion, right? So the thing is, you need also, of course, some time and some awareness at first to really take care of all those things. And, the acceleration is so high. Yeah.
Mm.
And, this exponential growth of capabilities, it's much higher than the curve we see on the smartphone usage, for example, and all these kind of things. So I believe it's really tricky to select the right tools and to be aware of the tools first that they're out there, and then select the right tools for your specific use cases. And of course, you have to train your people to work with those tools. I mean, even and I'm currently in this process. You have to train your people. This is at least in Europe by law when you use AI tools. You need to, and then you of course have to incorporate this in your contracts, in your data privacy agreements with your clients, and all these kind of things. The impact is so high, and you just have to have people that are aware of what needs to be done. And this is then the next tricky part, that you have to either create those people in your own company and enable those people, or you need to buy the support from outside. So it's also a tricky one here.
How will AI affect the product manager's role in the future?
Yeah, I believe that actually the role of a product manager will, as usual, change and not change. So what I believe will not change is the creativity and let's say, the attitude of, solving customer problems and all these kind of things. So especially when it comes to job descriptions, evaluating, success of a product manager, I think this capability will stay. But what I believe will change is maybe more to a generalist than a specialist, in the way that how, and I believe it's the same in other things like development, right? You potentially more need to have someone who has the attitude and has to know what to do, but also knows then really which tools to use in which favor and these kind of things. So instead of doing the stuff, having the knowledge to do the stuff on his or her own. So I believe this is something that will change.
So you're thinking we're going to have more or less generalist? I didn't follow you.
No more. We're going to have more generalists in the case, but less people that we need to actually do the same amount of outcome.
Well, there's a point to say that, like the way that I'm thinking about it, like it could happen the opposite too, right? Like because from a generalist perspective, like having like so many tools and so much efficiency put in place, that like all those common tasks that like a PM is expected to do are going to be more spread in knowledge and easier to do. So if I were right, like I am right today, like a hiring manager. And as I think about my hiring for the process, like for the future, I would like to start, getting more specialists, like in a specific industry, in a specific area. Um, but yeah, because I believe like there's going to be again like a lot of efficiency in place that will help us, to kind of like um, make more equal, how people, like execute product tasks. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that I could imagine a future. So let's take the capabilities potentially of a cross-functional team, right? You have UX, you have maybe research on product side or whatever, all these kind of things. So maybe I need to rephrase. The generalist, I mean, is with the disciplines of product management overall, not an industry or whatever. So do I really still need a UX designer to do UX designs? Or would I need maybe one UX designer for a couple of teams and whatever who do the double check of the creations the UI tooling does? And for me as a product manager, I would need more to know how to operate the tools in the value chain of product, and don't need to have all that specific functions equipped with people anymore. And this is okay. And then good that we talked about it. Then I would more rephrase is that I would see in the future product managers who have a broader knowledge of all the product management functions from A to Z and know how to operate the tools to get the output and the outcome. And then potentially have a team of specialists who are really then more going into the specific industry to see, okay, I need the UX designs now more for gaming or more for finance or whatever, and to that fine tuning.
Awesome. Yeah, I can agree more from that perspective. And coming back, like to, like the soft skills, like of people, I think that's going to be more and more, like important at the same time. One-on-one people that are able, like to communicate clearly, that to work in teams, hard workers and so on, because there's going to be the possibility to do, like way more with, like less, for sure. Yeah. From that perspective.
Yeah. And this, I think then also will have a big impact on how leadership works in product and in other functions later, right? Because, you really still need to make sure that even if the team gets smaller and the tech stack gets more versatile, you still have to make sure that the people can still interact together towards that common goal and still have that vision, what you try to achieve. So, and this is what I meant, going more into technocracy and all this kind of direction and, or more technology driven stuff, but still you need to interact with people and get them into mutual goals and all these kind of things. So I think also that in leadership, there will be some changes, how to lead people, how you define goals for people's, and you need to really make sure that the ability to interact is not lost somehow. So doing the classical cliche of a developer some years ago, right? Sitting in the cellar without daylight, eating pizza and drinking Red Bull. We have to make sure that this cliche, no, just kidding, but this kind of cliche is overcome, right? And people still work together. That not the product manager it ends, sorry for the word, but ends there in, just working with tools and not with other people.
Now our speakers will deliver their closing statements.
Okay. Yeah. So as to sum up, I'm using the parallel to the Tesla autonomous driving experience, right? So if you rely on something, you always have to take the consequences, right? So, and this is why I just can do the statement that AI can help for sure. I'm using AI tools myself, but I can only warn everyone not to lose their humanity, not their use their brains to really challenge what is coming out of the machine and to always put that into real life context. And I believe that a lot of things may be replaced by the AI in the future on the work part, but what never can be replaced is interaction between people and all these kind of things. So whenever you go too much in the direction of the machine, you have to make sure that this human kind of interaction and all these kind of things you remain. and then you keep. So I think this is the biggest risk is out there from my perspective. Not that the things cannot help, but really that you focus so much and you rely so much and you start losing thinking and switching on your common sense. And you see this in real life examples again, like the Tesla part.
100%. I agree 100% with that. I think it's on the sentiment of like a whole debate today, right? Like, and like we could argument, in favor. I have a lot of things to say, like, why I wouldn't use AI in different scenarios. So for me, it's like if I needed to kind of like name like this game moving forward, it's all about efficiency. It's all about using it in a way that it's gonna move us forward faster to accomplish and to solve problems. Don't use it blindly. 100% with you on that. So yeah, I'm a big advocate of it in the right use cases and for the right problem statements.
Love this debate? Here's how you can support Product League. Hit like if this video gave you insights, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more product management content, and share with your network to spread the knowledge. And don't forget, Rene and Martin are live during the premiere to answer your questions.
So this is not an AI-generated video. This is still us.